So as you guys can see, welcome Ben to the TPC stream. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yo.
I need to make sure I have it right.
Yeah.
There we
How's
go.
it going, guys?
Nothing much. How are you doing? Like aside from just like grinding,
Ooh.
like literally everything FTO. Like I see you updating the leaderboard probably once every 20 minutes.
Yeah, dude, it's like gotten like really crazy, like how much it's blown up recently. Like even over like just the last few months. And I update the thing like every day at this point. It's just people are like breaking their PBs, and yeah, it's just really cool to see all this this big explosion in creativity and everything.
Yeah,
It
I think
is
Kit
so crazy.
was doing a stream, like an FTO stream right before this. Maybe he's still doing it.
No, I think he ended
Oh.
it. He got some pretty crazy results. He got a 41 single and a
41
50,
single, and
did
then
he get
also
a 50
a
or 51?
51 average of 5, I believe, and also like a 56 average of 12. Like he's like almost there to sub 1 globally already.
Yeah, it was funny.
That's
'cause
pretty impressive.
he was talking to Evan Cubes, and like they were at the same speed, and literally in 20 minutes, Kit started dropping his averages and his singles by like 10 seconds. So it was pretty ridiculous. He got in the zone.
The hustle.
But
Oh,
yeah. Really quickly, because Graham brought this up before, so I thought it was really interesting. I wanted to hear your thoughts on it. Do you optimize your life by like using dead time to like do a chore and do something? I don't know if you heard, but like the example I gave was I would turn on the stove to heat my pan and then go brush my teeth and then come back to start my pancakes.
Yeah,
For
I mean, I heard a little bit on that conversation. I'll do like obvious optimizations that are like easy or like low effort for
Yeah.
sure. I won't like go bananas over it because I feel like that's just like putting too much effort into something that's only gonna like marginally save me some time. Like in the long term, it wouldn't really make a difference. So I don't like dwell on it.
But that's
But like
Yeah.
there's
the
like
entire.
a time when like I can like do this thing first and like do these things in this order to make it just go a little bit faster. Or maybe if I'm running low on time or something, then absolutely. As long as it doesn't take too much work and I don't end up spending like all of my brain power on that.
Yeah, I'm starting to think like I accidentally spent too much time doing that because like I didn't realize it wasn't a thing people did because I don't know, I have some weird quirks.
I don't know.
But,
I feel like also in general, like the Cuber personality would be the kind of person that would do that too.
Exactly.
Good point.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I remember meeting you late 2019. You were at a Berkeley comp, if I'm not mistaken. I can't tell if you were at a Berkeley comp or a SAC comp. Do you remember which one it was?
So
we were
yeah,
around
so it was the in October there was the PBQ that had to get
Yes.
moved to Manu's apartment because
Yeah.
of the power outage thing.
Oh,
yes.
right, that one.
I remember that.
I DNF'd that entire competition too. That was a great.
Were
Oh,
you?
no.
Wait, including
I had
FNC?
no idea your results.
Or
Like all of my results were DNF. Everything.
Oh my god. I can't say it was a waste because I'm someone who does value like just experiences, but that sounds pretty tragic. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I mean it's like it was also a quiet competition anyway, and like with those types of events, it's like bound to happen that sometimes you'll just have a bad day and you just won't get official like solves in, which
Right,
it's
right.
fine. Like you go into that with kind of like the expectation that it's possible.
Right,
But
right.
it was a great competition. Like I had a blast, and it was great meeting you, Michael, and it was fun. It was still fun.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
I might be weird, but I actually like PBQs because they kind of feel like exams. Is that weird?
What? That's like the most
Um,
backwards thing I've ever heard, dude. Are you saying
No,
that
no,
like
I'm
you
not
actively
trolling.
like seek out exams in your life?
Well, no.
A
I mean,
Cuber would
I
say
I
that.
don't. Okay, let me. I feel like I'm digging myself into a hole, so I'm gonna build a ladder,
Oh, no.
climb out. So what I'm saying is, PBQ, it's a very quiet like environment. It's usually a lot of like more mature cubers. It's it's fun. It's like an exam, but it's a fun exam. It's like
Yeah,
when
no,
you
it's-
volunteer to take
Just
an
got
exam.
weird chat.
Yeah, you make a good point. Like with you saying like I find that a lot of the community that I get to experience at quiet competitions is really enjoyable. Like it's mostly older cubers and closer to my age group, and I think in general it's a little bit easier to connect with people that are closer to your age group and your interests and all that. So absolutely, no, that's a valid point.
Oh yeah, that actually makes sense. I don't know if it's because of the fact it's like an exam. I think it's just because like like a lot of my friends are like here and into it.
Yeah, it's
I think
like- it's like-
that makes a lot of sense.
It's like we're all suffering together, like
Yeah, I like that. Well put, Ben.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, so Ben, I really don't know this part about you, but I don't know if many people do, because many people know you from all the FTO pushing that has been happening. But how did you start off in your cubing career? Was it like just like your typical like 3x3 story kind of that thing?
I think there's like a little bit of an interesting twist to it, because I mean, originally when I started out, I learned to solve the 3x3 cube, and like I think everybody or almost everybody else did. And it got to the point where like, okay, I can solve this. I know how to do it. I have the solution to memory and everything, and I can show it off to people. And that was all cool. And then I could do it within a few minutes, and it was like, yeah, this is cool. I can do this. But what really started to get most of my interest early on was just twisty puzzles in general, for the most part, because it was like, okay, there's the Rubik's Cube, the classic Rubik's Cube and so forth. And I had known about like different order cubes, like there's like 4x4, 5x5, and so on. It's like, okay, well, that's just people making it even more extreme, like whatever. It's kind of the same sort of idea.
Yeah.
But then discovering all sorts of different types of puzzles, puzzles that turned differently, like that were like corner turning puzzles, or puzzles that were like shape mods and so forth. And I remember early on, one of the main people that I had found out about was Tony Fisher, and he had made all of those custom puzzles like way back in the day. Like he's been making them longer than I've been alive, and yeah, he just has so many cool ideas that he's brought to life, and just seeing those things I think really inspired me the most, especially because upon discovering that he didn't like machine these parts out of with like professional like tools or whatever. He just took a regular cube, like cut it in some places and cleaned it up a little bit, and all of a sudden he had a brand new puzzle. Like he made it out of an existing puzzle.
Right.
And I think like that part of it, just seeing that kind of creativity side of things, really what kind of drew me into like, okay, I want to like see just what the experience of this is like. I got to know what it's like to like make my own like Rubik's Cube basically. And like the first puzzle that I wanted to make was the Fisher Cube, which it's just a 3x3 shape mod with the cuts kind of rotated.
I'm trying
on
to
the
think.
sides.
It looks like I'm thinking of a windmill cube, but it's in that same kind of category in terms of its aesthetic, right?
Yeah, it's the same kind of category. Yeah. So
Okay.
Fisher Cube is exactly 45 degrees off.
Yeah. Okay, I remember that.
Right. So yeah, and then I just went to the store and bought a cube, and then took it home and just started making it. Like cut the sides off and kind of build it up into the shape and everything. And like it came out pretty bad. I mean, it was my first puzzle mod of all that I had ever done, and it wasn't perfect, but I had made it, and I felt proud of making it. And then when I started to solve it, I'm like, oh, the solving of this is like, it's actually pretty different. You have to deal with things differently. And that also inspired me too, because it's like you can have puzzles that have interesting elements to the solve that you wouldn't expect or anticipate. And I think it was just sort of seeing that, speed cubing, of course, like it's great. People can have fun with it. People can improve their PBs and get excitement from that and everything, feeling like they achieve something successful and everything. But just discovering like it was like Twisty Puzzles in general was like a whole new like world, like completely like different like zone of knowledge and things that could be done. And I just said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to kind of pursue. So at first, that's what I was doing. Yeah. So to answer the question, at first I was more interested in making my own puzzles, and originally I made them by hand making them, taking existing like mass-produced cubes, like chopping them up or adding pieces on and making my own variations. And then eventually I discovered people were designing things using CAD software on the computer, making 3D printed puzzles. And that's when it was like, you can really go far with this, is like the idea that I had, because you can make whole new mechanisms. You're not just limited to existing puzzle mechanisms. You can create totally new mechanisms. And that's when I was like, okay, there are some cool ideas that I have, and I just want to bring them to life. And that's like what I'm most known for, especially in my early years, is making my own custom puzzles. And I've made like, gosh, I don't even know how many, but it's like probably around like 36 different designs or something. And like some of them people commissioned from me, some of them I just made myself because I just wanted to like. Also, another reason I made things was like just to own the puzzle, like seeing it out there and just like, you know what, I want to like own this thing. But I don't want to like shell out a huge amount of money to like purchase like a custom original, so I'll just make it myself. So there's that aspect too. But yeah, in general, you know, making puzzles was kind of my passion.
Yeah, that's so crazy. So like, I'm looking at your WC ID. It says 2013. Was this like quite a few years before 2013 though? Like, when did you start in the I guess, cubing just in general? Like, when did you?
Yeah. So I didn't actually say it. It was 2011, around
2011?
Fall of 2011. Yeah, is when I originally gotten the interest and like learned the cube, and then made my Fisher cube at the end of that year.
Okay, so you went straight in. You just went straight into the creative, the puzzle modding side of it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like, of course, I liked to watch like speed solves because it was just cool to see people do it so quickly, and like watching videos of that, like Felix back in the day, like the 566 world record.
Yeah, of course.
Like,
everyone
legendary for me. Like that was like the thing back then. And you know, like watching videos of people speed solving, I of course like picked up little things. I picked up algorithms they were using or whatever because it just looked interesting.
Of course.
But other than that, I didn't really like go out of my way to learn methods per se.
Yeah, you know what? There was like 2 tangents that I wanted to go on, so I don't know what the math is of that. But
before we,
I have a like. Oh,
I just wanted to interrupt before we jump into the tangent. I wanted to say thanks to Tazlin for the raid, the sub, and then I think 4 gifted subs after that. That's pretty crazy, man. Thank you. That's amazing. Hopefully you had a great stream before this. But yeah, we're just having a bit of an interview / podcast sort of thing with Speedy Octahedron, also known as Ben Streeter. I don't know, what do people refer to you more as online, at least?
Ben Puzzles, yeah, I would think so.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It just depends on the platform, really.
Okay.
But it's mostly that, pretty much.
Yeah. Have you ever thought about like maybe changing your YouTube and Twitch to changing your YouTube and Twitch to be like synonymous? I don't know if that would actually work.
I don't think I will do that, honestly, because I feel like sort of my Twitch community and like all of my other online presence are still relatively like separate from each other. Like what I do on Twitch is kind of unique to that, and then what I do like outside of that is more unique to my original persona, which is, you know, Ben Puzzles is my kind of brand for puzzles that I make. Okay.
All right. Yeah, the question I wanted to ask you was because I actually had this lined up because, as you know, I did mod my FTO, and I told you that I know how to solve it now. I got a 2-minute single today. It was pretty crazy. But yeah, I have like my own color scheme. I'll send you a picture later, but it's lilac right over here. And then opposite is violet. And then I got like, I think Brandon Harnish told me you use cyan or something like that. And I took that blue, and I just really wanted to do FTO because I could get away with making a custom color scheme. But it was really cool. But aside from modding all the pieces, I swapped the springs, and to be honest, I mean, I don't know if this makes me sound dumb, but I don't have like 8 pens lying around. I really don't have 8 pens. So of that that spring size, you answered your question. You develop your own FTO hardware, I'm imagining. Like you have your own like 3D printed FTOs for sure.
Yeah, I do. I did like make one like a couple years ago because it was. Well, also back then I was using the Maru octahedron, which is like really bad, like really bad, and it was getting like really frustrating to solve on and everything. So that's kind of what pushed me to like, okay, I just want to like make myself some good hardware. So I did. It's gotten like too old at this point. Like I have it actually right here. This was it. It's gotten like so many solves done to it at this point that it's kind of pretty much dead. Like it's like really sandy and slow and it's hard to set up. So I've retired that, but it served its purpose. Like it got me a lot of really good times that I'm pleased with and everything. But yeah, I did do that.
So I had the spring situation. Those stock springs are horrendous. So like I noticed to anyone who's watching this who wants to mod their FTO, Kit mentioned this in his stream. I was listening in. Spring swap before you mod, right? Do you think that's the way to go? Like before you mod, then shave to pieces?
In general, just because of the fact that the hardware is dated, it's like it came out in like, I want to say like 2009, 2010. So if you're familiar with like older like 3x3s back in those days, you really had to like break them in a lot before you could really lubricate them or like adjust like tensions and so forth. And I kind of feel like it's the best strategy for this is to also do the same thing, like just do a bunch of solves on it like out of the box without even any lube or anything. Like it's going to be miserable, but it will help grind away the plastic and just make it smoother, less catchy in the long run. And so like if you do a bunch of like break-in solves before you take it apart and do the modification and spring swap and lubrication, I feel that is going to give you like the best puzzle as a result. So I mean it's not like it's not the end of the world for you or anything, but that's what I would recommend to people.
I know it's just kind of like, I don't think it's psychotic, but I still have that practice where if I receive a new puzzle, I will not lubricate or take it apart. I just want to make sure that the plastic is all smoothed out and broken in. I know modern puzzles don't have that issue. Something tells me in my head that I should do this. It's optimal, right?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of because I got a little confused because I didn't have those pen springs. What kind of qualities do you think we're looking for in like if we were to get better springs? Do you like, is it just like really long springs because the core is just super deep in there, you know?
Yeah.
Like what people should look for in a spring?
For this puzzle in particular, well, the problem with the stock springs is that they're too stiff, and as a result of that, it makes the turning really slow because it's pushing so hard on the core. So you want a lighter spring for sure. I also feel like just slightly longer springs would also help because that may give a little bit more room for flexibility to just improve corner cutting. But in general, like the most important thing is probably just getting lighter springs. And as long as you can find something that fits around like the screw and inside the centerpiece, that's just a lighter strength spring, then you should be pretty much good to go.
Okay, so the length, well, like slightly longer, but having it like drastically longer, because I think the pen spring and the springs I used were like probably double the size of the stock springs, right? So like it doesn't have to be, I mean, that relates to tension in a way, but that's not the determining factor to like look at. Like as long as it's lighter, it should be fine.
Yeah, pretty much. As long as it's lighter and similar to the original spring size, maybe slightly longer, maybe leaning on the ends of slightly longer, but you know, not too long, not too short. And even like if you have like old like 3x3 hardware that happens to have springs that are compatible, like you can use that. So you have flexibility.
God, I want to thank you because I've never I've had a shorter cubing career in general. I came in pretty late. I came in 2014-15. I would say 2015 more so. I never had a puzzle after you start speed solving, like you said. Like speed solving is great. Speed solving is great, but it's so repetitive, right? And it's so. I mentioned it with Graham earlier. Like there's a subconscious involved in the actual solve state. Being able to solve FTO is like, in a long time, I haven't had the relaxation of just turning a puzzle, just experimenting. I'm utter trash. I mean, I consistently did 5-minute solves up until very recently. But it's super refreshing because I never really did anything non-WCA. We'll get into that a little later, but yeah, I never really did anything non-WCA, sort of like out of the meta. I mean, I think it's all for the better, but all this online platform has really made FTO a lot more mainstream, and I think it's a fantastic puzzle. But yeah, just being able to, it's so unique. I mean, it looks cool. The way you solve it. You developed your advanced method, right? Is it Pastouskov?
Yeah, not named by me. Somebody else came up with that wonderful name for it. I love it.
It's great.
Yeah, but it is my method, and originally, I developed it a couple years ago. Like, I've been solving it longer than anybody else. And it's just kind of funny. Like, 2020 was really the year where it kicked off, because before then it was me. And then at the very late 2019, Brandon Harnish was also doing it.
Yeah,
but before that, it was just like, dude, I was just riding my own wave, man. Just over here, chilling with my own puzzle, having fun.
Yeah, you guys were talking about it at that dinner. Like, you said you were working on some sort of, like, document or tutorial or something like that. I think, at least. Like, I definitely heard about it before from you. Brandon helped you out a lot, I remember, and he would like stream FTO. I'm not sure if he did, but he loved FTO. I mean, he loves FTO still. Mm-hmm. But yeah, how long did it take you to make that 40-minute tutorial that I've had to click on so many times?
Yeah, well, the video tutorial actually came fairly quickly, and that was because I had finished my document that like had all the information in it, which I published previously. So that really like speeded it up, because it's like, okay, I can just take the most important things from this giant like 40-page command, that I had written over the course of like a very long time, and just kind of put it together in a script, shoot a video, get it edited, and it wasn't too bad. So the video wasn't really the hard part. It was like compiling everything into that document. That's what really took a lot of effort for me, and that's what I think also was like the reason why there was just such a long period of I was the only one doing it, because I hadn't like published my information out there really. So partly my fault on my end, but it's all right. We got it out there eventually.
I mean, I love the exploration aspect that you're taking, because really it sounds like to me that the way your mind operates, how you really catered, or not you catered, you kind of gravitated towards the puzzle modding aspect and wanting to have something new and refreshing in your own. Like, did that apply when you were kind of developing your own method? What was did you develop your own method to solve it the first time, or did you like look up tutorials that were hanging around in the dark webs or something?
Yeah, so that's an interesting point you bring up. I feel like, in a way, it kind of makes sense that I like picked up this puzzle and developed this method for it. Just because like I had mentioned previously, my past history was sort of with making my own like custom like puzzle designs and everything, and that has a lot of like a creativity aspect to it. And it was just it's sort of like, and nothing against speed solving or anything. But speed solving is like one of the most popular branches of like Twisty Puzzle cubing community.
Yeah.
And like the custom puzzle aspect is sort of a smaller, tighter like niche. And just in general, I've always found that I kind of like to pursue those kinds of things, because it's unique, it's interesting. Not as many people are exploring it, and I just like to kind of go into those areas, because you never know if there's like something like new that's exciting that no one's found yet, and if no one's working on it, how do you know that there's nothing to discover? So there's that part of it. And for me, I think that kind of my past experiences with making my own puzzles and having that creativity definitely had an impact on that. And so for the second part of the question, with the actual method itself, the reason that I had developed the method was that I felt like there was something missing. Like, I felt like there had to be something good for this puzzle that could be used to solve it more efficiently. And I think it was actually efficiency at first that I kind of wanted to optimize, as opposed to speed. Like, speed almost came as like a side effect, because like, oh, I can solve this with relatively fewer like moves or turns than the old methods. Because the old methods, what they would do is they would solve the piece types one at a time. So they'd start with like doing the edge pieces, then you do algorithms for the corner pieces, and then you would just be left with the inner triangular like centers here, and you would use like an 8-move algorithm to place one of them,
really,
and then another one. You would just do that over and over again until it was done.
Dude, compared to Ben, that sounds so laborious with a puzzle that turns. I mean, you know, it turns really badly out of the box. Oh my god. Continue. Sorry, that's kind of mind-boggling.
But yeah, you have a point. Like it's you know, it became like laborious to solve it because of the method that was there, and you know, I just kind of thought there's got to be something better than that, right? And that's when I kind of like started to explore. And there was already like certain methods that were out there that I had found that still hinged on similar ideas to what I eventually settled on for my method. But there were still like certain ways that steps could be optimized. And I think we're kind of getting back to the optimization sort of discussion. You know, there's like little things that we can optimize. And I kind of worked on it over the course of a couple of months. At like the beginning of like 2018, I believe it was, and you know, eventually like realized, okay, we can do this for the first step, this for the second step, and so forth. So I'd found like all of the steps of the method that I felt would like that seemed to flow well, that would work well, and then from there was like, okay, figuring out how do we actually do these steps, what are the algorithms that I would need to find, and turns out it actually wasn't that many algorithms. And that was really cool. Like, oh, you know, most of this actually turns out to be really intuitive. And that's when I got really excited, because I was like, I think I found like what I found here. This is kind of revolutionary in a way. That's what really made me want to develop it so much and kind of go so far with it.
Yeah, I would compare the solve style of Pastouskov to. I mean, I think most people compare it to Yao, right? But I also look at it and. Before I mention, because I should give a little context. I also want to bring up Dan Pastouskov. He is one of the original co-founders of CubersLive. I hope he's doing well. But he was talking to you all the time about FTO, if I wasn't mistaken, and he was. Oh my god! Yeah, he was one of the first.
There's a whole story behind how he got into FTO.
Yeah, we got like, as long as we're not like doxing it, we got to go into that. But so like he was one of the, I think, first cubing streamers. I would say, like, there was very few up until very, like, obviously everyone's at home, right? But yeah, he would just do FTO like while no one else cared except maybe you and Brandon for the most part. And I definitely think that his speed and he's the world best in single and average, right?
Absolutely, like miles ahead of the game. It's crazy. He
is so fast at FTO. I just wanted to give that shout out because he is not recognized enough for how much he did for the community. I think. I don't think he cares for the recognition. Like, that's the type of person he is. But I just want people to know that too. Like, he's a really great dude, and him and Ben have just been going back and forth in the leaderboards until very recently, I guess. But yeah, so Dan would mention how you could turn the middle layer, like, literally by itself with better hardware development. You could literally do it like this. And then I was just imagining, like, the way the best FTO solvers like you and like Dan, like, the way it looks, it reminds me of Rue. I don't know, it just reminds me of Rue if you could actually do slice moves, you know? But I thought that it's so aesthetically pleasing to solve style, and given that it's a new, like, mainstream platonic shape cube, whatever solid, it's called, platonic solid in the mainstream, it's just super refreshing to see. But yeah, that's what Pastouskov reminds me of, like Yao and Rue, and maybe like the potential of using the middle slices in the future if there was better hardware. Are you still developing FTO hardware, or are you just kind of like, you've kind of like taken a back seat on that? Like, you're still actively doing that?
I have an unfinished version 2 that I want to finish eventually. So we'll see if I ever get around to it. I want it as bad as everybody else. Like, of course,
I'm sure.
But you know, we'll see if I can ever get to it, because there's definitely some new avenues in the mechanism that I've been exploring that could really make something good. So we'll see. Fingers crossed, though.
Let's see.
Yeah. Let's see. So one of the obvious points that I think most people are thinking about is, you know how feet got removed and people are like pushing for let's remove clocks, stuff like that, or like they're trying to remove and add events, right? They're trying to see what fits into WCA. I, as someone who I feel like I have a pretty decent pulse on the majority of the cubing community, I think FTO would be very welcome. I think for me, the biggest reason I would like to have FTO in the WCA is to provide a little more incentive for companies to develop the damn hardware. There's so much like, like, I'm sorry if that's a swear word for you guys, but it is really obnoxious how bad it is. Yeah, like just that by itself would provide some incentive for some better hardware, for just something that's really new, that deserves its own spotlight, even if it's not in the WCA. But also, I think it would just be really rewarding to see your progress and your push reach that level,
Yeah, definitely.
Do you have any, like, do you concern yourself with the idea that, oh, it could be a WCA event one day, or you're just like, it's cool wherever it goes, I'm just focused on like just development and for the most part?
Yeah, I am 100% the latter.
Yeah.
Even going into it at the very beginning,
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I'm devoting all of this, time and effort into practicing this and, getting faster and discovering like new ways to solve it and so forth. And, like I go in with the expectation, like, it's likely that there's a very good chance that this will never become something recognized by the WCA. And I'm okay with that because, who cares? I put in the effort, I put in the work for this, and, it shows. And, that's what, I saw as like the accomplishment was the fact that I pushed it to a new level that no one thought would be possible,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean,
like
there
the
are like
exploration.
so many. Yeah, I mean, there are so many puzzles, right? Like we can think of literally hundreds of puzzles out there, like that like have definitely not reached the same spotlight that FTO has had. And I think part of the reason, because I think the other few puzzles I can think about are like Kilominx and Ready Cube. I think a few years ago, when they started to get like somewhat popular. But I think FTO has probably been like success. Do you think more people streaming on Twitch and stuff that like people have like decided to give it more of a chance, or do you think it's like not really related and it just like all ended to like lined up somehow?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way that I see it, the community will, take it for what it is, and it seems to be popular, and people seem to like it. I'll just keep doing it. I'll keep trying to push new boundaries on it, and I think the reception will speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
If people and that's the thing that I think I've enjoyed the most about this actually is just the fact that so many people have given it a try. Because it's like you never know if it's going to be like a fun puzzle or something you may never enjoy if you don't do it. And I just think that's so cool that such a community has spawned for it, and it's just way more than I could have ever asked for, to be honest. Because originally going into it, it's like, okay, I can have fun with a cool puzzle over here and get PBs and stuff and just be me. But that's just so awesome, and so many people have pushed it even farther than me. Dan, of course, came in and just proved to everybody, all y'all suck. I'm the real king here, But that's the thing, is just I think the community aspect is the most rewarding thing that I've gotten from this puzzle for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think part of it,
and definitely
too,
like hats off to you guys, man. Like,
oh, I was just gonna say part of it too is like because there's no WCA events, I think that there's more incentive to try out these like non-WCA puzzles, and then the fact that you're also maintaining a leaderboard is just like even better because there's no WCA leaderboard at the moment. So I guess that's kind of a silver lining to the whole pandemic.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wanted to do when I saw that the popularity was increasing. Like, people, it's obvious that people, care about it and want to have fun with it. Why not, bring, resources to everybody to, make it more possible for them to, solve the puzzle and, race against other friends and everything, and get those kind of community experiences. And that's something that and I'm super glad that I did that. Like I also do the online weekly FTO competition every Sunday, and that's been fun. People have told me that they've had so much fun with it, and again, going back to the community, it's just the greatest thing.
Oh yeah, I actually, you have one. We'll give you a proper. Make sure you get to like plug everything. But you have a competition tomorrow, right? The FTO weekly competition. You stream all of them, or do you have someone else stream it? Kind of.
I haven't done any like live streams of like the competitors yet, but I'm preparing something for tomorrow, so it'll be on my Twitch channel.
Yeah, I heard something about that, so I was like, oh, I wonder, because like I also like because like people would use the stream to like, oh, I'm streaming the FTO weekly competition, right? Like I'm a competitor and I'm streaming it. Like I've seen that too.
Yeah, but that's a big one that's happened. Yeah, a lot of people have streamed their solving.
Exactly. Well, I've seen your channel. I never really was into Twitch until recently, mostly like everyone else. I guess for cubing related content, right? How long have you been streaming on your Twitch channel? Is this a really old Twitch channel, or is it recent for you?
It's very recent. It's funny actually because I started it in February of this year, and it was sort of like, I want to, be able to record practice sessions and, just have it be easier to do it than like setting up like my fancy camera on tripod and everything to do a recording. Mm-hmm. And it also, maybe given the opportunity to like talk to people while I'm doing it because of, whole quarantine thing, you have to kind of stay away from people in person. And I just thought, okay, I'll just do this Twitch channel to just record my solves. Mm-hmm. And be able to look back at them and like analyze my solves and everything to kind of help improve. And also I get to talk to people, and man, it just grew into something like way more than that, like really quickly. And it's just crazy. The community is just so awesome, and everybody else is doing it now. Like I never thought I would be able to raid another streamer streaming FTO after I was done.
Oh yeah,
and now I'm doing that. Like they're everywhere, and it's great. I'm so glad that people are having fun with it, and trying it out, and getting PBs and getting accomplishments from that.
That's what you did today, right? Like you finished your stream and you raided Kit, who was doing FTO. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, that is so crazy. Well. To cover some other things, you said you have a lot of other puzzles of interest. Is there anything you're focusing on right now other than FTO in puzzle development and method development and just like personal interest, right? Or like just like solving at home? I heard stuff about someone making an icosahedron kind of like puzzle. Is there anything else you're doing right now?
In terms of like the world of Twisty Puzzles, I do a lot of things, honestly. And it's like originally I started out as someone who was like designing my own custom puzzles, and I did that for many years and got a lot of cool creations out there and everything. And I've sold them online too to people all over the world, which was a really cool thing to think that like somebody else bought something that you made and they get to get enjoyment out of it.
Right.
But then when I went to college, and I found, of course, cubers at college. Mitch, for example, we went to school together.
Yeah.
And Brandon as well. And then they started a cubing club, and then I started going to club meetings and everything. And that's funnily enough, that's kind of when I started to get surrounded by speed cubing more and more, because that's what their expertise was. Mitch is like a really fast solver, and they. Or speed, and I just kind of surrounded myself with speed cubing in college because of that. Because of my friend circles, really. And it was over that period that I like started to improve like 3x3 times, and like going to competitions way more regularly because like we had them on campus, like we organized them, and that's kind of when like the speed cubing part of it, I kind of started to get into that a little bit. And then of course, like the original thing that I did, making my own puzzles, was still like something that I think kind of helped me like look into like all of the different aspects of cubing. Like there's also like puzzle theory, like like figuring out like things like combinatorics or just like how puzzles behave and so forth. And so those are also things that I got interested in as a result of that. So like I've kind of like done everything, and that's I think I I'm kind of glad that I I've been able to explore so many aspects of it because there's just so many cool things.
Oh, I see. Mm-hmm. What was that you said? Combinatorics?
Combinatorics, which is like how many positions does this puzzle have when you mix it up? Stuff like that.
Oh my god.
You're starting to sound a lot like Isaac.
Oh yeah.
Oh man.
Shout out to Isaac, man. That dude like talks so much about puzzle theory. It's pretty crazy.
Oh yeah.
I do like how his way to teach cubing to beginners is by talking about group theory.
Wait, really?
Yeah, I think he does that occasionally in during our cubing club at Berkeley meetings.
Oh, that does sound like Isaac, huh?
But yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
we need to get
some people
Isaac
it
on
does
the
make
FTO.
sense.
Yeah, it does. Ben, how long did it take you to get sub 30? I know you're not like I know you're trying to aim for sub 30 global, but like how long did it take you to get that average? Or like when did you start when did you start speed solving FTO? Because I'm sure there's a period where you're just being casual about it, right? Mm-hmm. And then from that point, how long was the grind?
Yeah, so the thing is that I was developing my method at the beginning of 2018, so like the first like 3 months of that year was when I was kind of developing my method. And it was funny because in that time I had also found Michael Gottlieb, who's very, very old school cuber.
For those idea who that is.
And he like solved it in like 1 minute and 4 seconds, like way back in like 2011 or something. And I found that video and I was just like, you know what? I bet I could beat that. And that's kind of when like my like wanting to like get faster at it kind of started out. Like originally it was like it's like a fun puzzle that I can do because I have a cool method for it. But then realizing this is a very beatable time also kind of pushed me too. And so like it was like April is when I started to kind of try to get faster at it. And originally like I was like 2-3 minutes. Like again, that's how like everybody starts out. And I think that's like important to know, like everybody starts out in that beginner position that's first learning a puzzle and everything. And so everybody, if you want to get into this puzzle, like we all started at the same place and we can all get to the same place. So never be afraid to give things a try. But okay, anyways.
Dang, that was so motivational that I'm about to like click on and like buy the FTO immediately.
Clip.
No, I'm actually doing it right now.
Yeah, actually,
post it everywhere.
speedcubeshop.com.
Everywhere. All right.
FTO.
Oh man, sorry for breaking the mood there.
No, that's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So right, it was in April that I kind of started practicing in 2018 that I had started like practicing, and eventually I did beat that time. Like I got my first sub 1 Senga. It was like a 52-second solve. And I was just like, wow, that's so cool that I used my own method and I broke that. Like we can just keep going, keep going. Mm-hmm. And over the course of the next like few months, from like April until August of that year is when I got my first sub 30 solve. It was 28.4 seconds. And I could not get the average. It was not happening for me at the time. And then it was sort of like I had my senior year of college, I had to kind of put it off to the side and so forth. But then I kind of near the end of 2019 picked it up again. And then that's when I started kind of going at it, like really trying to go at it. And I was still like averaging like high 30s, I think, at the time of like, about a year ago. And then up until I finally got the sub 30 average in April of this year. So it took 2 years for me to do it. But you have to remember that I was off for a year. So it was more like a whole year is how long it took me to get a sub 30 average. And also, I didn't have a lot of experience with speed solving at a super high level previously, so I wasn't like the most experienced about how to improve quickly. And honestly, I think most people can improve a lot faster than I can. We have the proof for it. Like, look at the rankings. Like, these people are getting so quick. So, you know.
Yeah, Lacey was just in chat talking about how she got her first sub 1 2 days ago. All thanks to you. So I guess if you want to say anything to her, say you're welcome.
Oh yeah.
Who's at the top right now? I know Dan's at the top. I know Aiden Bryant is sub 30, right? Michael Nilsson, is he sub 30?
Michael is like really close. He's like a 30.3 average.
Okay.
Like, it's gonna crack soon enough. But once that happens, like, and he gets the sub 30 average too, like, there'll be 5 people, including him, because he'll eventually get it. We all know that. There'll be 5 people with a sub 30 average of 5, and they started this year.
Right.
And I started 2 years ago. So like like seriously, so many people are improving much quicker than me. And I think part of it's like a testament to, you know, either it's probably a combination of things. I think my, you know, original interest in puzzles wasn't speed cubing. And so I didn't, you know, have that kind of background going into it. And also, you know, just people are just good at this. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. I have a couple like questions just related to the actual solve.
Right.
I guess the first general one that I wanted to ask is, does it kind of seem like FTO? Because Kit mentioned this earlier. In your experience, do you think FTO compared to something like 3x3 or 5x5, for example, there's a lot of variability in your solve times, just inherently by the kind of cases you can get throughout your solve?
There definitely is, and it comes from the fact that with a lot of the scrambles, not the scrambles per se, but like situations that you'll run into when, like, in the middle of the solve, there's a lot of things where there's a very wide spectrum of where on one end you have really, really good cases that you can get that can be solved really quickly. But on the other end of the spectrum, there's also like really bad cases that you can also run into. And it's interesting how, like, yeah, I have noticed that there is like that sort of factor that I think definitely plays into the variability for sure. In terms of also like, there's obviously like the chance of like skipping a certain step in the solve, just like with the 3x3, you know, you can like skip like a part of the last layer. With this, you can kind of run into similar situations where you like skip a part of the solve, and you're just like, oh, okay, we don't have to do that, and that saves time. And yeah, definitely. And so like one of the interesting things is it's very challenging to be consistent on this thing. Just because of that variability, and like lowering that standard deviation, I think is going to probably take the longest overall in the long term. You know, just being able to handle the bad cases well is quite challenging. But that's, I think, what makes the solve really interesting too. And Kit was mentioning this, that just because of the fact that you have that variability, it makes it interesting, because when you go into a solve, you don't really know what you're going to get. Like when you go into like a 3x3 solve, you can expect to average like around the same time. But with this, you really have no idea how good or how bad the solve is going to be. And that's kind of what makes it, you know, exciting to solve it, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah, like that's my impression. I've done, I think, about 20 timed solves. But one of the, let's see, the other question I wanted to ask is, so I think Lacey brought this up in the chat, but the one flip case and the last 3 triples, right? Does that come up actually really often? I don't know if I'm tripping if I'm not handling the case as well, but the one flip is basically where the sticker of the triangle you want to line up is on the top layer and the triangle is in the F layer. Is that correct? Is that one flip?
Yeah, it's where I'll try to get it to happen in here if I can. Probably because I'm live on stream. This is great.
Oh, it's all good.
But it's essentially where you have you have your second pair that you just made. You just finished making your second pair, and you're ready to flip it up to the top layer. Yeah. But your last triangle is also going to be flipped to the top layer, and it makes it impossible to finish that last
right
at the very end. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I had the statistic for this too. I'm pretty sure it happens actually one in three probability, like 33% of the time.
Really?
Is
So
when
I
it
wasn't
should.
tripping.
When it no, the thing is, like, I think it actually happens more than that, and I've noticed that. But like the math tells me that it's like a third of the time, and I'm just like, what? Like, this doesn't make sense. And it's really funny. It's actually really funny, and like it's basically become a meme at this point. Like, like one flip is like awful, and everybody.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm not tripping. I was like, am I executing something wrong? Am I not following like what I'm supposed to do correctly? But okay, in that case, I feel less bad about having to deal with a weird case in that sense, because it is pretty. I mean, like, so you just use that second pair that you made and you put it on top of the triangle, right? You make sure you flip it in the correct way.
Yeah. You're basically like, when you get to the one flip situation, you basically ignore that pair that you just matched up, and you instead solve the other one. Mm-hmm. And then by doing that, it gets you out of it. And it does take an extra, like, it's, and also like when it's kind of hard to like recognize how exactly to get to that position to get out of it. But yeah, that's kind of what makes it kind of, I think, frustrating for people. But yeah, that is how you deal with that situation.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we do have to wrap up soon, but I did want to ask you a question really quickly about one more aspect of FTO solving, which I find the most confusing. So I find the last two centers obnoxious, or obnoxiously difficult to recognize and execute. I was wondering if you could, I don't know if it's possible to do this on stream, but I was wondering if there's a way you could, like, just show a couple last two center cases and just like maybe just like demonstrate how you would go about solving it.
Yeah, sure. I'll see if I can get around that right now. If you want, I can kind of talk about the story with Dan, because that was something that I mentioned earlier.
Yeah. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, absolutely. So I first showed him FTO at SAC 9, which was actually this year in January.
Yes.
And it was funny because we were all staying at Christian's place for the night, and we were just all hanging out and having a good time and everything.
Yeah.
And whenever I go to competitions, I always like to bring my own puzzles with me, my custom puzzles, just to show to people because they like seeing those.
Yeah.
And just one night he was coming up to me and just like, show me some cool puzzles or whatever. So I showed him the FTO and everything, and then he wanted to see me like watch me solve it and everything. So I'm like, sure, I'll show you how I solve it. And I was just, and like within like 20 minutes of like doing like just a walkthrough, like solve with him, he like got it. He like understood everything, and then was like started like solving it like on his own. He was just over on the couch, like sitting there solving it and everything. And then he was like started like suggesting like other like ways to handle certain cases. And it's just like, dude, this guy's like going off the rails. Like he just wants to like go crazy with this thing. And I just showed him a bunch of like cool like last layer cases or whatever. And he was just like, whoa, this is so cool and everything. And then he started going crazy like, oh my gosh, dude, if we get like better hardware, if we just get like better finger tricks and everything, dude, we can get like sub 15.
Yeah.
Oh jeez.
He just went crazy that night, and it was just really funny. It was cool that like I taught him in person. I think it's just the coolest thing that came out of that.
He got so hooked.
I taught him in person, and then now look at what happens. He just owns me up. Like it's just really cool. So that's a fun story, and he definitely talks about that quite a lot. That was really nice. Okay, so color scheme is one thing to keep in mind. It's let me see if I can like show this to the camera. Okay, it's probably not going to be super.
It's perfect.
It's not going to be the best thing in the world.
No worries. This is kind of just rough. Just wanted to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, sure thing. So like in general, like my thought process that I kind of try to take when I'm approaching the step. So in this case, I'm working with the green and the blue as the last two center colors here. What I try to look for first is trying to form a large trapezoid really quickly. Yeah. And what I do is I look at both sides, both colors to form it. In the tutorial video that I made for the beginners tutorial, I only focus on like doing it on like the front face. But with like, of course you can do it on either side. just by symmetry. Like, it doesn't really matter. So I look for both of them. And in general, it's sort of like looking for pairs, which is you have a triangle and an edge that's matched up together. I'm trying to like look for pairs that you have or easy ways to make pairs. And most of it really is like RU spam, like RU R prime spam, kind of like when you're doing like last two centers on big cubes.
Yeah.
You can like, okay, like, let me see if I can find an example of this. So like I can see from here that like, let's say I just finished my second center. In this orientation, like this center is like oriented this way, and I already have all of these green pieces on the right layer.
Yeah.
So that tells me, okay, then it's probably better for me to go to the green center for my like focus for the last two centers for this, because I have this whole section of pieces I can immediately go into manipulating. So I would look at that and say, okay, I have this edge, so I have to get my color scheme here so I can like say bring this down here and match it up. And that gives me this trapezoid.
Okay.
So then I have this one done, and I'm like, okay, I have this done now. And then I want to, of course, make the small trapezoid opposite of that on the same face. And that's when you kind of do this sort of wide move here, because once you have this this trapezoid done, it's done, and you never have to worry about it anymore. So the rest of your moves are going to be, focusing on this side. So you're doing RU stuff once again. And then from this point, it's sort of like you look at what case you have. There's really not a lot of different cases you'll find once you get to this point. And you can sort of you sort of just get like used to recognizing, okay, I have this. So in this case, I have these two triangles on this side, and then the edge is here, and we can like form a pair like this, and then the rest of it can go in like that. Like, it's going to be hard for me to explain it like this, of course. But
no, I can already understand it, but you made it look. Maybe I really am not. I'm not catching on to like what's supposed to happen. But you say you don't have to break that large trapezoid at all. Like there is the amount of cases that exist for that small trapezoid. You can just RU.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh
like
my
a lot
God.
of it is pretty much like that. And of course, like sometimes you might have to do like a finicky like wide move here and there to like position something where you need it to be. But once you kind of do that, a lot of it is doing RUR prime stuff, and you can sort of do a lot. It's still a lot of like bringing pieces together, block building techniques, to be completely honest. So,
man,
yeah.
I mean, my secret is like I guess I don't have the patience for it, but I just tried to just experiment myself and just do whatever worked, and that hasn't really been super consistent. But you do have a couple like last two Sunday tutorials, right? I think I saw it mentioned in chat. 360 cubed, right?
Yeah, I do have an advanced video for last two centers, and I call it advanced, but even like if you're a beginner solver, you can still look at that and learn something that you can use, even if it's not like an algorithm that's for a high level efficiency. You can still like look at the methodology of like this is what we want to think about when we're doing this step in general, and you can sort of take that to mind when you're kind of trying to practice or experiment.
Okay, that's I never really thought last two centers would work that simply, but maybe I need to like go deconstruct everything I've done in the past and find something new in that case. Yeah, I really didn't have too many things I wanted to ask at this point. I don't know if Manu or Preetham wanted to mention anything, but in the meantime, did you want to like provide any plugs? I mean, I know we mentioned it a couple times, but just as a formal gesture in a way.
Yeah, all I want to say is like, if you ever want to get into this puzzle and you ever have questions, like I'm always like available to help you out. I'm happy to do that for folks, and the whole community as well. Like there's a lot of others who are streaming FTO on Twitch. If you want to like pop in their chat and have a question, like ask them. Like I'm sure they'll be able to help you out. But yeah, in general, you can find me on Twitch, Speedy Octahedron. I'm also elsewhere. I'm Ben Puzzles on Instagram and YouTube. So, and heck, you can email me and ask me questions. I don't care. Like just get in touch with me if you have anything, and
all right,
I'll be happy to talk to you. It's always a good time.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ben, for coming onto our stream.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks you guys for having me on and doing this interview. This was great. Enjoyed talking to you, and
Yeah.
I hope the viewers enjoyed this as well. Also, for you guys, so you mentioned the FTO like battle on Sunday that's coming up.
Yeah.
Can you provide any more information on that, or do we have the details not finalized yet?
Oh, we're just working on because there's a lot of different things happening. We just want to work on a schedule, make sure that everyone has a time slot that makes most sense. But we did have a. What did you want to say, something, Preetham?
I was just gonna say, like, I think we're more or less confirmed. I'm sure that you're happy to do it. I think Dan is also. I think we have to confirm with him, but
Yeah, I
he's
think
probably
he's
down to
willing.
do it as well. And
Yeah.
I'm just super excited for that. It's gonna be one of the first times I watched like a head-to-head FTO battle, so that's gonna be super cool.
I'm
just here to see.
yeah.
That's super cool, you guys. Yeah, that's awesome. So yeah, again, thanks so much for having me on, and just spreading the word, because I think this has a good potential to grow into a really big community.